We're back on the SportsMax zone and we're continuing to talk football, and we're taking the discussions off the field as the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association president Kieron Edwards is in Jamaica for the Soca Warriors 2 friendly internationals against Jamaica's Reggae Boys. Edwards, who was elected back in April 2024, is leading the first self-governed TTFA administration since they were put under FIFA normalization back in 2020. And Kieron, we're happy to have inside our studios today. Can I start by asking you quickly, as we welcome you, President, what your thoughts on the game last night?
I think the game was a good game in terms of for the coaches to see the guys and put out their ideas on the group. Both new coaches to both Jamaica and Trinidad. So it's important that they just give their philosophies to the players, the local players, try to get some synergy with those guys. So when they bring back the international, the guys that are here, they could pass on those messages. So I think it was a good game. When you look at it from tactics, I think it was a good game.
Yeah, we know you're still in your first year as president of the TTFA, and from the outside looking in, things look a little bit quiet, which in Caribbean sports administration is usually a good thing, because a lot of times when it's not quiet, it's because there are things going wrong. Your feelings generally on how your executive has performed in your opening year?
I think it's been good so far. I think it's a work in progress. I think we came in campaigning on a few stuff in terms of creating a structure, stability, for the FA. I think we've been good. I'm happy to hear that you say it's quiet, so that it means it's good. But we continue to work, and after the first year, we will be able to show persons what we actually really done. We've started our strategic plan, ensuring that we have the auditors done. So I think it's been a good couple of months so far.
Yeah, I'm happy that you spoke about, the things that you would have said in your manifesto, because one of the things as a journalist is, we hold administrators by that manifesto. So everything you say, and the thing is we would have interviewed you on the show before, so we have it in recording. So we can now say, okay, Kieron, on such and such date you said. So one of the things you spoke about would have been the development of a sports science unit. Spoke about, developing athletes and ensuring that we get the best out of them. Has that started yet?
We have started it in terms of implementing it in terms of the teams. So our Youth 17 girls, we'd have had sports sciences there with them, mental coaches there as well as the men's senior national team. So we've started it in bits. In terms of the full structure and the facility, because of our FIFA 3.0 funding, we've gone up a particular direction and leave the Sports Science Center in terms of development of that for FIFA 4.0.
Okay, and another thing, Tobago, our head coach Dwight York is from Tobago. You spoke about, of course, setting up a satellite office in Tobago to assist with coaching and to ensure that, everybody is getting the best possible, I want to say education, to ensure that they too can impart that knowledge on the youngsters. How is that one going?
So that's a bit far on. We've had persons from Tobago put in various positions, safeguarding, coach education, around the national teams as well, high performance. So it's now just to get the structure. The Dwight York Stadium is currently under renovation. We hope when that renovation is completed, and maybe about a month or so, we'll have the space to actually have a physical satellite office in Tobago.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, there has been the inclusion of a lot of schoolboy footballers and everything, because we're thinking about long term. But talk to me about the young girls. What's in store for them?
I think that team is really bright. The under-17s that took part in the CONCACAF first rounds of qualification. One or two players left out of the team. Hope that they would be part of the squad going forward in the final round of qualification. But I think our females are bright. We recently started the Wolf League in collaboration with Wolf, in terms of having a league for 6 months. This would be the first time our women's league will be playing for a consecutive 6 months. And I think the development is bright. We've worked with secondary schools in terms of their their girls tournament as well. So we would go for 6 months break. They would have their pre-season, and then girls will go back into secondary school football. So I think in terms of the development, the future is bright on the female side for sure.
Yeah. And how has your relationship been with the Ministry of Sport in Trinidad and Tobago? As in, have they been, helpful when it comes to things that your administration would require? And are you on the same page when it comes to moving Trinidad and Tobago football forward?
I think we're on the same page. I think we're on the same page. I think the support, just when you look at the support from the World Cup campaign, having $2 million US given to our World Cup campaign over the next 2 years, they're on the same page in terms of the importance of qualifying for a World Cup. I'm not just qualifying for the World Cup, but doing things to be able to sustain when you get there, the next group, the next team. Because we've seen in the past, you could say from Canada, from Jamaica, from our Soca Warriors team, 2006, having a campaign sucks the life out of the association. We are seeing Canada doing the right things that they could go back to back and they are sustainable. Jamaica is now pushing on in a similar vein, I hope. And we at the FA, we are trying to ensure that there's a foundation. Qualifying for 2026 is important, but qualifying for World Cups and competing for World Cup spaces is important for us as the FA.
Yeah, and to be able to do that, of course, I'm very happy you went to that point. You need those strategic plans in place that really map out exactly how you plan to get the deliverables done. And I know you did an executive program with FIFA last year. So talk to us about that program and what came out of it for you, because I always feel it is so important that when you get into positions like these, you continue to upskill yourself, to improve, to learn more about the industry, and to be in a better position to lead your organization.
For me, that's important, ensuring that you continue to learn. I'm a footballer at heart, went into coaching, and as a coach, so as well, you continue to learn. So becoming the president of the TTFA, when the opportunity came for that executive program, it was one that I jumped on immediately, knowing that at the FA we didn't have a strategic plan. But the program was well received by myself. I think most presidents and GSs that took part in the program really welcome it.
Yeah.
So it's one that we have started out now, our strategic plan. We have had consultation with internal stakeholders, some external, and we will continue that for maybe the next 2 weeks, and we'll then put together a document. We're working with Deloitte. We're lucky enough to have Deloitte on as a partner now with the FA, free of charge.
Wow.
So that's really big. I know persons really talk about sponsorship when there's some financial party, but it's not just financial support. They are one of the largest service providers in the world. So having them on with the TTFA is important, and we'll go and do the strategic plan and then take it back to the membership and then to the public.
Kieron Edwards live on the SportsMax Zone, president of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. We are going to a break now, but we'll still continue our discussion with him in a couple of minutes. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. Thanks for staying with us as we continue our chat with the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association President Kieron Edwards. Kieron, a couple of things I want to address here, because the tumultuous nature of Trinidad and Tobago's football administration some years that led to the normalization process. How much has the football fraternity learned from that negative experience, and how can you ensure that nothing like that happens again?
I think the biggest takeaway from the normalization committee coming, it's really about the numbers, your revenue, and spending what you have, and not spending beyond that. I think that's the biggest takeaway from it. And ensuring that is really setting budgets, having a strategic plan so that you know where you're spending, the reason for spending. I think once we have that and not just at the FA, but clubs and associations understand that as well, I think Trinidad and Tobago will be in a better place.
Yeah, and Kieron, you know that a lot of people don't take rankings seriously, but it is by virtue of the fact that it's a computerized statistical representation of your performance. It can't be ignored, and Trinidad has spent a lot of time in the past 4 or 5 years outside the top 100, which is a very unfamiliar position for you. You were ranked 25th in June 2001, which is the highest ever ranking by a CARICOM team. And that's where people feel TNT's football belongs. At the moment, not only Jamaica, but Curacao and Haiti are ranked ahead of Trinidad and Tobago in the FIFA rankings. Not to, speak lightly of their football, because I think they have done a lot with their football and have earned their top 100 ranking. But how much of a despairing feeling is it for the football fraternity in TNT that you're wallowing in this rankings level, which is completely unfamiliar? Well, it's familiar now because you've been there for like 5 or 6 years, but prior to then, TNT's football shouldn't be there.
I truly believe it should not be there as well. I think the population understands football. Football is the most popular sport, so they understand the position and the reason why we got to that point. It would take some doing to get us back up to the ranking. We need to lay the right foundation. That's important. Being in the World Cup fever,
I know,
the ranking is difficult to manage your ranking while you're in that position. Most teams, and not just for our senior team, when you look at under 17 World Cup qualification, it's a ranking same way. The top 10 team, the top 8 teams are seeded.
You play Guyana tonight, actually.
Yeah, and top 8 teams are seeded, and it's an easier part in terms of the qualification for under 17 teams. And it takes some doing in terms of working your way back up. So the main goal at this point is to qualify for 2026. And then thereafter, look at good friendlies and work your way back up in terms of the ranking. So you have to take a strategic look at it in terms of how do you get back up the rankings, teams do you play, while still maintaining that competitive edge with your team as well. So it's something that keeps me up at night in terms of ensuring that we get there. I know in a couple of years when there's election again, not being moved up that ranking would play a significant part. So it's something that I have an eye on.
Yeah, you say World Cup, and I just remember, and I wanted to say, do you remember when we qualified for the World Cup? But of course you do. That's just a rhetorical question. Yes. But it just brings me back to the question, right? How difficult was it bringing Dwight York to coach Trinidad and Tobago football, Soca Warriors? Was it a difficult task? And what was the thinking that went into getting him to lead this setup?
We knew we had to make a change when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago football. We knew to get some life back into the program, to make a push for the World Cup, we had to make a change. No knock on Coach Angus Eve when he had the team, but we knew we needed something more. And it was an easy one. When Dwight put his hand up, it was easy in terms of saying, all right, this is the man for the job. This is the person that can really make a difference. I think he's been very a servant to Trinidad and Tobago football as a player. It's a journey now where, as a new administration, making a change, trying to change the trajectory of Trinidad and Tobago football. And as a new coach now in his career, looking to work his way up in terms of the coaching, I think it was a match made in heaven at that point. And so he came on, and he has worked so far, I think, night and day in terms of he's always calling, always messaging, what we could do, how we could do these things. The levels, he's adamant about levels of simple things like the dressing room, how our dressing rooms look. When players come into the dressing room, how they feel. These little things make a difference. So, and as a student of marginal gains, I do understand those things of the little things do matter, and as you build, do things better today that you did yesterday. So I think it's a very good combination between having Coach Dwight York and the new administration.
Yeah, and professionalism is so key, especially when, I mean, Dwight would have played at the highest level, so he comes back in with that sort of experience, and I think he'd probably be sharing that with you a lot. One of the things also you spoke about in your manifesto was the TTFA having their own field, because, you know, sometimes that's a bit difficult. How challenging has it been so far trying to sort that out?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge, especially with our venues, a few venues being done, being renovated at the same time for Carifta as well. So it's a bit difficult. It's one that we've worked around. The ministry and sport company has been great friends in terms of ensuring that we get facilities when we do need it. But it's something that we have to have our own facilities. And that's one of the reasons why we postpone having the sports science unit done now in this 3.0, because we are going to use our FIFA Forward funds to have a field developed so that it would be the TTFA's field to be able to utilize.
Can I ask you, Kieron, given the fact that you have already stated that the 2026 World Cup qualification is high on your priority list, I'm sure you would have seen the Jamaica model, where they have pretty much wholesale gone for Jamaican roots players, Jamaican parentage, with a lot of European experience, and they pretty much, you know, proliferate the Jamaica team at the moment. TNT has done a bit of that in the past. Chris Birchall was brought into your team ahead of the 2006 World Cup, and it was a successful campaign. Is that a route that you would go to? I know there isn't a lot of time because World Cup qualifiers start this year, but is that a route that TNT's football administration entertains?
I think it's a call for the coach. All available players for Trinidad and Tobago should be given the opportunity to play. At the present moment, we don't have the law to have grandparentage play for Trinidad and Tobago. That is similar to Jamaica. So currently, virtual family, father. So we utilize players that are available for Trinidad and Tobago. And if at some point we have players through the change in the law available for Trinidad and Tobago, the best players would be on the pitch.
That's grandparents, but parents would be fine.
Of course, yeah. Parents are fine at this present moment, yeah.
But so has Dwight York said anything about, especially having spent so many years in the UK, having a handle on some of the players in Europe that would qualify to play for TNT? Has he said anything in that direction at all?
So there are players in Europe selected with our national team. And once you are available, in terms of have a passport for Trinidad and Tobago, I'm sure coach would be able to look at them and select a squad from that, pool.
And why is there a difference in the grandparentage qualification in Trinidad as opposed to Jamaica?
It was on the laws, or on the books for many years.
Can we change that?
We didn't. Yeah. We're looking into it as well. We're working with the Ministry of National Security, Ministry of Sport, in terms of changing it, not just for football, but into football. So we're hoping to have that change. And if we have quality players, if the law is changed, then they would be up for selection, and it's up to the coach to select the best squad, giving us the best chance of qualification.
And before you go, what would you like to see happen in the return game on Sunday?
Once the boys put their best foot forward, I think it's an opportunity for some of the young ones. We have Garcia, Zoom is in the squad. We have Lindell Sween, young boys, first time playing with the senior team.
They're still teenagers.
Yeah, still teenagers.
17.
We have Sintele, who was, I would say, the standout in the game, goalkeeper. First game with the team as well. So once those guys take the opportunity, be confident in terms of being themselves as well. Yes, there would be certain things in terms of structure that the coach would want to put out, but still express themselves. And I think because they have been expressing themselves is the reason why they're in the team. So they need to continue. It's difficult because as a former player, I know when you get that opportunity, you're on the national team, you don't want to make a mistake, but you need to express yourself. And most coaches would tell you, mistakes do happen. So making mistakes, you may lose the ball, but still express yourself and show your quality. And I think we'll be good on Sunday.
Yeah, well, let's hope that the game on Sunday is more entertaining than the one was in Montego Bay last night. And a lot of young talent in the TNT team. I'm very impressed with Nathaniel James. I think he's an amazing talent. So a lot of the Trinidad and Tobago young players, late teens, early 20s, are showing a lot of promise. And let's hope that Dwight York can hone the skills of these young players and resuscitate TNT's football on the field. Kieron Edwards, president of the TTFA, really happy that you've been able to join us live on the SportsMax Zone. And we hope to talk to you again continuously as TNT tries to rebuild its football.
Thanks for having me. And of course, anytime you call, I'll answer to be part of the zone.
Yeah, you've never turned down an interview with us. So I expect you to. Thanks a lot, man. And we'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone. I think Ramrak is coming up with Zone Update 2 after the break.
Oh my.